It's hypocritical. It's un-American. It's not what we're about. We're about the rule of law. The United States isn't perfect. I think we should understand that from the start. We're all, we all have that same disease. It's called being a human. We're not perfect. But as a nation, we stand for something good. Never forget that. We stand for something noble. We stand for the concept of individual liberties, individual civil liberties. The cornerstone of America is the concept of we, the people of the United States. We are the government. We are the fuel that drives this engine. We are the cells that make the American body work. Sometimes the cells come together and form a heart. Sometimes they come to form a lung. Sometimes they come to form a liver. But the bottom line is they all serve the same body, which is the United States of America. So we're a good country. We're capable of doing great things. But bad things are being done in our name today. The President of the United States has lied to us. He has lied to Congress. He has lied to the international community. Congress has bought that lie, helped sell that lie to the American people. The media has been an effective sales force for this lie, compliantly repeating everything the president said. I'll give you a little story. In September of last year, I was called before CNN's executive board. All their bigwigs. I went down to Atlanta, sat down, there's their big guy, there's their second big guy, there's all their talking heads, and they subjected me to an hour and 45 minutes of cross-examination. You say this, how do you prove that, what's doing this, boom, 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 and I answered every question. I actually answered every question to their satisfaction, because at the end they said, okay, you got answers, they make sense, you're credible. The head guy turned to his talking heads and said, you can use Ritter as a source now. You can put him on air. We give him the stamp of approval. And I was so honored. I mean, it was just the defining moment of my life. And they said, do you have any questions? I said, just one. I respect CNN's search for integrity. I respect the fact that you grilled me like this before you could see fit to put me on air. But why don't you ask the same questions of the president or his administration? I mean, when the Secretary of Defense comes out and makes a bold pronouncement about bulletproof evidence linking Saddam Hussein with Al-Qaeda, why aren't you saying, well, show us this evidence. We demand this evidence. And when he doesn't give you the evidence, then don't repeat what he said to the American people as if it's fact. We need to empower ourselves with knowledge and information. That is the first step towards fixing what's wrong in America. Because when you are empowered with knowledge, when you are empowered with information, then you will have the courage to stand up and fight the fear. Fight the fear that's being sold to you by the president, by the media. And when you confront your fears, when you overcome your fears, you'll find that you will emerge victorious because the truth will out. When you are empowered with the truth, you will prevail. You're not going to prevail. Cold fight, but you will prevail. I'm a Marine. I come from a background of fighting, of combat, waging war, and I know that's not what you guys are about. But one of the things that motivated me as a Marine was a story they told us in officer training. You know, when it comes time to quit, when you're ready to throw down and run, when the going gets tough, you got to dig down and believe in something. The thing they taught us to believe in was the Marine Corps. That you can't run because you'll betray the Marines. You'll betray those that became before you. You'll betray your country. You have to stay. They told us a story about a Marine Corps rifle company in Korea. It was a rifle company tasked with holding a hill over the last bridge out of the chosen reservoir where a Marine division was trapped. If that hill fell to the Chinese would cut the bridge and a good portion of Marines would be cut off from rescue and they would be massacred. They would be annihilated. That hill had to be held. And the snow was blowing and it was cold and 136 Marines marched up the hill. And they were frostbitten, they were hungry, they were far from home, they were scared. And they got to the top of that hill and their company commander turned to them, stuck his rifle in the ground, and he says, this company will fight and die here, but we will not run. And that night, those 136 Marines repelled thousands of Chinese. thousands of Chinese, and they didn't run. Over 70% of them died that night. The rest of them were wounded. But when the morning came, they held the hill, and the Marines were able to escape. What does this have to do with you? You guys are in the fight of your lives right now. You need to understand that America is at a vital crossroads. If we continue to go down the path that the President of the United States is leading us, we will cease to exist as the United States of America. We can call ourselves Americans, but we won't be Americans. See, to be Americans, you have to believe in something. And that's something that unites us all, regardless of our gender, regardless of our religion, regardless of our race, is the Constitution of the United States of America, the defining document. And the Bush administration no longer views the Constitution as the foundation upon which they derive their policies. The two documents the Bush administration now relies upon are the Patriot Act when it comes for domestic issues and the National Security Strategy when it comes for foreign policy. You see, the Bush administration couldn't support the Patriot Act if they believed in the Constitution, because the Patriot Act is a frontal assault on the Constitution of the United States. And the Bush administration is feeding you a line when they say we want to be a member of a larger global community, because the National Security Strategy of the United States, promulgated in September of last year, is not about being a good member of the global community. It's about promoting American imperialism, plain and simple. It says the United States will exploit our overwhelming strength militarily and economically to impose our will on those areas of the world that we see fit, not what the global community sees fit, but we see fit, and we can act preemptively if necessary in departure from internationally agreed upon norms, such as the United Nations Charter. When you say you're going to step away from the United Nations Charter, understand what that means. We are signatories to the Charter. Article 6 of the Constitution, I hate to bring up the Constitution again, but we must talk about it. Article 6 is very clear. When we enter into an international agreement or treaty that has been ratified by 2/3 of the Senate of the United States of America, that is the law of the land. We are signatories to the United Nations Charter. The United Nations Charter foregoes war as a way of resolving disputes between nations. It says that there are two ways in which we can go to war. One is in legitimate self-defense, Article 51, if we have been invaded. The second one is if the Security Council, of which we control with our seat and our veto, the Security Council passes a Chapter 7 resolution recognizing a situation that exists that threatens international peace and security and authorizes the member states to use military means or other means to resolve the situation. Those are the two means. None of those exist in Iraq today. So the President, in going to war with Iraq, in bringing the war on terror home through the Homeland Security, through the Patriot Act, is launching a frontal assault on that which defines us as a people. So what are we going to do? We, the people, have got to say not one step back. We will not retreat. I bring my Marine Corps background here, not to encourage you to wage war, but to beg of you to wage peace. You wage peace by arming yourselves with the most powerful weapon possible, and that is the power of truth. And the truth is the President lied about Iraq. Use that as your bayonet, stick it into the ground and say, right now, rally around me. The President lied about Iraq. Because you know what will happen? People will start to gravitate to you. People will start to say, you're right. And as soon as people acknowledge that they have been lied to about Iraq, suddenly the whole venue of lies that we have been told by the President come to bear. See, people don't care about Iraq. Let's be honest. Some people here do. The vast majority of Americans don't. Don't tell me we're going to war because we care about the Iraqi people. We don't. Not collectively. Don't tell me about the mass graves, because the majority of those mass graves were dug in 1991 after we encouraged the Kurds and the Shia to rise up against Saddam and did nothing while Saddam slaughtered them and put 30 to 40,000 of them in the ground. Don't tell me it's taken us a decade to suddenly recognize that, oh my goodness, there's mass graves in Iraq. And if we're going to talk about the 30 or 40,000 that went in the ground in 1991, what about the 1.5 million that went in the ground from 1991 to 2003, people who died under U.S.-backed economic sanctions?